the moments sports fans live for. Well, they just got better.
Gotta stay tuned.
Let's do it.
Our sound is a sound that makes you stop. And listen.
What's going on?
It's a collective voice that calls out to you, the fan.
Yeah, we're fun with a capital F.
It all begins at 11.
Now say this out loud as you're driving around in your car.
Join Sports Skillet.
Just what it feels like. So how do you like it?
So what is it? I'm curious.
You like it like this?
My God, do we love football.
Or like this?
I love the sport of baseball.
And what about this?
You can have a sports show without all the vicious talk. Simple human decency.
Whatever it is that you like.
Yeah, I like chaos.
We've got it covered.
Right?
It's sports the way you like it.
My friends, you may not know this. It's got everything you want.
Broadcasting from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. Here we go. Local and national sports talk that's fresh, in season, and FDA approved. If it's hot, you'll find it cooking with Jeff, Jay, and Kelly. They don't just stir the pot, they add more flavor than the other guys. Get ready to dig in and taste some Sports Skillet.
Ooh, tastes good.
Right now on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
We want to go out there and win. The goal is to win, and we got a good opponent coming in. We were fortunate enough to play at home. I love playing at home. I know that place is going to be rocking. So obviously the goal is to go 1-0 this week. Playing at home is always positive. I'm definitely going to cherish, running out of that tunnel. I'm going to cherish the time just finally being back out there with the guys after missing these games and the long rehab, everything. Like you kind of said, there's going to be a lot of emotions going on. But once the game starts, it's just football again.
Welcome back. 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 Welcome back.
And welcome back, Carson Wentz. Hi-yo, here we go. What is crack-a-lackin', everybody? Welcome to the Sports Skillet Radio Show. I am Jay, and we've got a great show lined up for you. Got a packed studio here, lots to get to. We are going to talk about the returning Carson Wentz. We're going to talk a little Phillies as well, Yankees, teams clinching playoff spots in MLB. We got a full dose of NFL action to talk about with as well. And again, we want to encourage you to get in on the phone line. 609-919-9200 is the phone number right here on the Sports Skillet Radio Show if you want to join us. And we encourage you to go to our website and download the 920 app so you can listen to us wherever you happen to be. If you're on the beach, if you're inside, if you're at the store, download the app, listen to us. Don't miss a second of the show because we have a hot show lined up for you. And great show lined up. Jeff, lots of things going on in the NFL this week.
Lots going on the show, and when you look at the NFL right now, I think you have to look at the bad kicking in the NFL, which is going on. That's been a tough start to the NFL season for a lot of these kickers, but also the fact that you've got some quarterbacks that are playing extremely well, one in Tampa Bay and one in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of surprises going on, too. Great game.
And you got a guy retiring at halftime.
Got a guy retiring at halftime, too. Definitely lots going on around the NFL. But let's get a live update from Lincoln Financial Field. Let's bring in from Lincoln Financial Field, Rob Maaddi. He's the author of Birds of Prey, the story of the Eagles' faith, brotherhood, and Super Bowl victory. And it has a foreword by Carson Wentz. It's available everywhere books are sold and on Amazon.com. He also is the host of Faith on the Field on 6:10 a.m. Also does work hosting shows on 97.5 The Fanatic. And he also covers the Eagles and Phillies. Rob, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. How are you this morning?
We are spectacular. There's a buzz around. Carson Wentz is returning to the Eagles. Can you tell us how much that means to the Eagles team, getting Carson Wentz back?
Well, he is the franchise quarterback. He's the reason why they were in position last year to get the number one seed, win the NFC East, have home field advantage, and then go on to win the Super Bowl, even though he wasn't under center for the playoff games and the Super Bowl. He got them into that position, was probably the front runner for the MVP award, ended up finishing third in MVP voting. This guy means everything to the team, to the franchise, and there is certainly a buzz no matter how rainy and ugly it is out here today. It's a beautiful day in Philadelphia.
It is absolutely just getting Carson Wentz back. There is some not so bad news, not so good news regarding the Eagles. A lot of players are banged up. How do you think the Eagles are going to go about attacking the Vikings with being so banged up at the wide receiver and running back position?
Well, there could be some good news, and I just saw Alshon Jeffrey catching some passes. It is early. It is pregame warm-ups. They do have to make a determination by 11:30 as to whether or not he is active, but he was listed as questionable, which means that's a 50-50% chance that he's going to play. He was out here. He was catching passes just about 10 minutes ago. He looked fine. I don't know if that means he's going to play, but questionable puts him at 50-50. To get him back in the lineup would be a big boost. Otherwise, they definitely don't have Jay Ajayi and Darren Sproles, their two top running backs. Corey Clement was also listed as questionable. I do expect him to play and be a big part of the run game. Jordan Matthews is back. That's somebody they're going to be able to work into the offense right away. They got a lot of familiarity with Jordan. Carson Wentz and he obviously have had a great relationship on and off the field. I expect Dallas Goedert to probably finally show up and be part of this passing game today, and that should be able to help the Eagles a little bit. But everything centers around protecting Carson Wentz and making sure that the offensive line up front does their job, and they have an opportunity against the Colts defense. That the pass rush for the Colts is a little bit improved over last year, but they were the worst pass rush in the NFL last year. So there's a chance for this offensive line to dominate today and keep Carson Wentz upright.
How much do you think Jordan Matthews will play in this game? A lot of people commented that it's tough for a wide receiver to come in midweek and play significant snaps. I think Jordan Matthews, knowing the offense and being familiar with Carson, gives him a leg up. But how many snaps do you think he actually gets in this game?
It's going to depend on if Alshon is active or inactive right now. But assuming Alshon is inactive, I think Jordan Matthews will be a significant part of the offense. And it is difficult, as you said, for a wide receiver to come in on Wednesday. But Jordan is no ordinary wide receiver. He knows the offense. He's familiar with the system. He's got to get up to date on a few things. But he's got that relationship, that camaraderie with Carson Wentz. So I think there's a lot of familiarity there. I expect him to come into – I picked him yesterday to be my player of the game. Kind of a sentimental favor, but I think he can catch 6 or 7 passes and maybe get sneak a touchdown in there and be somebody who might be overlooked a little bit by the Colts defense and find a way to make some plays for this offense. And he's going to be a key addition for this team because this is a guy who, going back to 2016 when he was here, Carson Wentz targeted him over 100 times that season, about 9 times per game. He was one of his go-to guys, and to get him back, to get him on the field, I think it's just a natural fit.
Oh, definitely. Changing over to the defensive side of the ball, the Eagles have allowed just 48 points in their last 6 games at the Link and only 11.7 per game since the start of last season, probably the lowest in the league. Unfortunately, Jalen Mills got a little heat last week for his work in the defensive backfield. How do you think the defense is going to go about containing wide receiver T.Y. Hilton in this one?
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton's got an opportunity to do some damage, and they're going to need to get some help over on him, whether it's safety help, whether it's moving guys around, whatever they can do to contain T.Y. Hilton. But I think the pass rush up front will be able to help dictate that, because if they pressure Andrew Luck and don't give him an opportunity to throw the ball deep downfield to Hill, and that's going to help. The Eagles at defense, as you said, at home has been so good, and it's quite a disparity between how good they have been at home versus on the road. We've seen what they've been able to do to Julio Jones. He's been able to get his catches here in Philly over the past 2 times he's played here, but not find the end zone. And they're okay with T.Y. Hilton catching 8, 9, 10 balls for 100 yards. Their key thing is keep him out of the end zone, and their red zone defense is really what's been able to step up and get the job done. So I think with the conditions today, the rain and everything else going on today, that does favor a little bit more of the wide receiver than it does the cornerback. However, I do think with Malcolm Jenkins wanting to step up after making that big mistake last week on the first touchdown of the game, 75-yard touchdown to Deshaun Jackson, they got every incentive in the world right now to go out there and try and dominate this game and get the Eagles a big win.
That would be awesome. I'm sure everybody down there would love to see a Eagles win today. Going over to the Colts a little bit, Andrew Luck is completing 71% of his passes, but he has no completion larger than 26 yards. Do you think the Eagles can affect Andrew Luck? Do you think the Eagles' pass rush can get to him? Or do you think he's going to start taking a little more chances down the field with the Eagles' backfield being struggling a little bit coming off last week?
I think the pass rush is going to be important in this game, and Brandon Graham has an opportunity to go up against a guy that he could probably dominate on the left side, and Fletcher Cox on the inside can have a big game as well, and maybe Chris Long and Derek Barnett. Andrew Luck's going to get the ball out quickly. It's a matter of how soon they can get to him, and if he's getting the ball out for short little 3, 4, 5, 6-yard passes, and he's completing 70% of those, Eagles are fine with that. He hasn't gone, as you said, over 20 yards, so 26 yards so far this season. There's a chance he might connect for one big play. I don't think it's not going to be anything like Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Buccaneers and the 275-yard bombs last week. And I don't know that the Eagles are going to want to. Jim Schwartz doesn't like the blitz. He got burnt by the blitz last week. They're going to try and get all the pressure up front, and I think they have a chance here to get that pressure up front so they don't have to blitz, so they can keep those extra defenders back there and protect against deep balls. So it's going to be a battle up front, and I think man for man, the Eagles can win that battle.
And staying with the Colts a little bit, of course, their head coach is Frank Reich, the former OC of the Philadelphia Eagles. How do you think the chess match is going to go between Frank Reich and Jim Schwartz in this one?
It should be fascinating. And as much as Frank Reich knows about the Eagles' offense because of the familiarity, because he was here for 2 years with this system, Jim Schwartz knows as much about Frank Reich's offense as well because he goes up against it in practice. And they throughout the past 2 seasons, they talk to each other about it. Hey, what do you see here? What do you see there? How can we improve this? How can we disguise this? So it's going to be fascinating to see the matchup. I love what Jason Kelsey said this week. It doesn't matter if they know the play we're running. They can know exactly what we're going to do, and we still have to just beat our man. And that's true because sometimes if you see in certain situations in games when teams are trying to run out the clock and you know the run's coming and teams can't stop it. So whatever the situation is, no matter what they do know, how much they know, they can see if the play's coming. It's up to the guys to win that battle and to do their job, and I think the Eagles can do that today.
And since we're talking about Frank Reich, I just have to throw this out there. Did you get any of the cannolis that he sent over?
No, I didn't know he did that. Did he send cannolis over?
Yeah, apparently, I think yesterday or the day before, he sent a whole bunch of cannolis and food over for the Philadelphia media.
He's just he's a great dude. Frank Reich is one of the best people I've met in the NFL, and he's just an awesome guy.
And let's switch over to the Philadelphia Phillies, who sadly were eliminated from playoff contention yesterday by the Atlanta Braves, winning the National League East. When you look at the Phillies, do you think they can learn from this experience and be better next season, or do you think they got lucky with a lot of one-run victories this year with home runs?
No, I don't think they got lucky. I think what we saw when you see, and a lot of people were questioning yesterday. I called it a collapse because they went 15-28 since August 5th, and I do think it was a collapse because when you have a team that's in first place on August 5th, It's not like they're in first place in April, May, June, or even July. They were in first place a week into August, 15 games over 500, and they completely fell apart. And they are a flawed team. They had a lot of flaws up and down the lineup, in the bullpen, in the starting rotation, and all those things added up. But it's a combination of things. It's a combination of some of the managerial moves that Gabe Kapler was making. I think one of the most egregious things I saw this season is in an elimination game 2 days ago where it's a must win, and you got Lucas Duda up at the plate, man on first, and Pat Neshek allows a ground ball through the shift, and then after the game he says, well, I didn't know that the shift was on. How is that possible? How is it possible for a pitcher not to know that the shift is on when that is the number one priority once you do an overshift like that, is to tell the pitcher, hey, you got to keep the ball in the inner half of the plate because you don't want the guy to hit the ball the opposite way and hit it through the shift. So there's some kind of disconnect. There's some kind of miscommunication there, and they need to figure some of those things out because some of the veteran guys like Neshek and Jake Arrieta were not happy with those shifts. So that's just a piece of the puzzle. A lot of their veteran guys that they spent a lot of money on acquiring. Jake Arrieta, for me, was an absolute bust this season. They were 14-16 in his 30 starts. That's $30 million this year to win 14 games. Every time they needed him to step up, he let them down. Carlos Santana didn't give them what people thought he should for that $60 million contract, and there's no way to get out of that contract. He's going to be here for the next 2 years. So Tommy Hunter failed them in spots. Pat Neshek failed them in spots. So those were their four big off-season acquisitions, and those guys all failed them at times this year. So they're going to have to look hard at how they spend their money and not overpay guys for what they did in another team's uniform.
Speaking of shifts, obviously my brother made a big point of this, posting it on Facebook. What do you think of the first baseman Carlos Santana playing shortstop?
Yeah, when you put a first baseman at third base and you put a shift on and now he's playing shortstop, well, if you're going to put one guy on the left side of the infield, you need to have your best athlete on that side. You can't have a first baseman turned into third baseman playing shortstop and it beat them. So if you're going to do that stuff, they're going to have to put their best players in that position, and they failed all season long defensively. Worst team in Major League Baseball on defense. And I know Gabe Kapler loves to play the analytics and look at the analytics and go by whatever those computers are telling them. But you also have to put your best players, your best athletes in spots to make plays, and I thought that was terrible.
A lot of fans are calling, obviously, for the manager to be fired. What are your thoughts on Gabe Kapler for this season?
It's not going to happen. He's not going to get fired, so they're going to have to get used to him for at least another season. And then if they fall apart next year and don't do anything, then I think management will look at getting rid of Gabe Kapler and Matt Klentak, because Kapler and Klentak are tied together right now. I love the positivity he brought to the team. I thought he was a big reason why they were in first place in August and why this team had been 15 games over 500. At the same time, I'm not a blind loyalist. I'm not a guy who's going to say everything he does is right. You're going to question certain moves and you're going to question certain decisions. So some of those things, some of the lineups changes, the constant lineup shuffling, I didn't like that, because knowing baseball players, knowing that they're creatures of habit, guys want to go to the ballpark every day knowing, hey, I'm going to be hitting second, I'm going to be hitting third, I'm going to be hitting here. And he constantly shuffled lineups around. Guys didn't have an opportunity to get in rhythm, to get in sync, and I think he undervalued that a lot. He undervalued the number 3 hole in the batting order. One day Roman Quinn's hitting third, the next day he's hitting ninth. Can you imagine doing that to Chase Utley or even Bobby Abreu before that, having a guy hit third and then hit ninth? That's undervaluing a key spot in the lineup. So I think a lot of the innovative things that he's trying to bring to the team, he's got to re-examine whether or not they actually do work. Hey, baseball's been played a certain way for 150 years. I'm not against change. I'm not one of those old school guys who say, hey, this is the way it's got to be. But I think you have to mix and match and try and use the eye test sometimes and add the analytics in there as well.
Are you a fan of the analytics in this game that's coming in, or do you think that it's really ruining the game at this point?
I don't think it's ruining the game. Any information is good information, but it's how you use that information. If you rely solely on analytics, I think that'll get you burnt, that'll get you beat. I think you have to have a good mix of analytics, of gut. Analytics aren't going to tell you if a guy going out to the mound has it. The look in his eyes, the competitive spirit, the nature that it's not going to tell you everything. So I think you have to have a good feel, a good balance, a good mix, be able to read your players, understand your players, know what they need, and at the same time incorporate some of those statistics.
And do you think the Phillies will go out and spend for the big free agents? We know Harper and Machado will be out there.
No doubt. They need to fill seats. And for a team that was in the playoff race all the way through August, they did not have a good turnout at the ballpark. So I do think they're going to make a big push for Machado, for Bryce Harper, for both guys. And they have the money to do it. But then you're going to end up, if you do that, you're going to tie up a whole lot of money into two players. And I don't know what that'll do for them 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, but they're looking at it for next year, and they're looking at it for the next 2, 3, 4 years. They need to upgrade this offense, and those are two guys who could certainly upgrade the offense in a big way.
If they sign Harper, that's obviously a cascade effect that would move, obviously, an outfielder to first base. And obviously then you would have to deal with Santana and move him possibly to third base. So there's moves to be made if they were to actually sign Bryce Harper.
Yeah, there definitely is. And we don't know how they're going to play, how everything's going to play out with the other outfielders. What they're going to do with Odubel Herrera. I've been on record for a few years now saying you need to get rid of Odubel Herrera. I just don't think he's a player.
I'm in your camp, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's got talent, but a guy who has 6 good weeks a season is way too inconsistent, and I just don't see him as a guy who you can win with. So I would move him. I don't factor him into the outfield equation. It tells you a lot that they didn't think much of Nick Williams here down the stretch. For a while there, he was their everyday right fielder, and then now down the stretch, they've taken him out of the lineup. So they have a lot. They have more questions than they do have answers going into this offseason, and that's a little disconcerting.
And Rob, we want to encourage everybody to go out there, grab a copy of Birds of Prey, the book that you authored. Can you talk a little bit about what the book's about and maybe give us a story or two from the book?
The book talks about, I didn't think you could write or tell the story of the 2017 Super Bowl champion Eagles without taking a look at what made them who they are, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the unity that they showed. And that was because of the faith that these guys share, the Christian faith that many of these players on this team, the core group of guys, Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Zach Ertz, Trey Burton last year, Jordan Hicks, they're just brothers in Christ, and that allowed them to overcome one thing after another, adversity, all kinds of situations. And I've never seen a team, guys, and I've covered the NFL, I've covered Major League Baseball, I've covered other sports now for AP for going on 19, 20 years. I've never seen a team that was closer knit, that was a closer group of guys than last year's Philadelphia Eagles, and that's where it stems from. That's where the unity came from, and there's just so many different stories in there, from the baptisms in the team's cold tub in October 2016, kind of what was planting the seed for their success, I called it, and then there was the baptism in the pool before a game last year against Carolina on Thursday night with Marcus Johnson, where they baptized him in a team hotel pool. So there's so many different little stories like that in there, and guys just take a real introspective look at what made them who they are. And I encourage people to go out there and get that book. It's not just it's a football book, it's a faith book, it's a combination of both. There's enough football in there. We take a look at every single one of the games throughout the season. So there's enough football in there for the football fan, and there's enough stuff in there for everybody to make it a good read.
That is awesome. Couldn't send it any better, Rob. Encourage everybody to go out there wherever books are sold, Amazon.com, get a copy. Awesome book. We also want to encourage everybody to give you a listen on Faith on the Field on 6:10 a.m., 97.5 The Fanatic, and also give you a follow at Rob Maaddi and AP_Rob Maaddi on Twitter and Real Rob Maaddi on Instagram. Rob, I'm going to let you get back to work. I know you're anxious to...
Before you go, can you give us a prediction on today's game between the Eagles and the Colts?
26-16 Eagles win this game. I think it's going to be sloppy. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty, but they're going to get the job done, and they're going to cover the spread for the people who care about that stuff.
Awesome. Love it. Like I said, give you a follow on your social media accounts. Order the book. Get the book. Go out and buy it. An awesome book. Thanks so much for coming on, Rob, and hopefully we can have you on again real soon. Maybe live from the link or maybe calling up again. We'd love to have you on. You're a great guest. Love having you on each and every time you come on.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, have a great day down at the link, and hopefully the Eagles come away with a win.
You got it, guys. Take care.
You too.
It's a pretty good prediction when you look at it, because I think the Eagles are going to win, obviously. And, I was wrong last week, obviously. I was kind of dead wrong. I really thought the Eagles would have a much easier time with Tampa Bay. But, look, that quarterback is just playing out of his mind for Tampa. And that team Fitzmagic. It's, hey, look, that team's for real right now. We'll see if he can continue it throughout the season. But Fitzpatrick has been known to have these kind of spurts, in seasons. We'll see if he can carry it through the entire season. So, but that was just a great game plan, a great execution by the
like I said on the show last week, Jeff, it was going to be a much closer game than people were anticipating it to be. I didn't.
Yeah, but even you were expecting a win.
I was expecting a win out of the Eagles, absolutely, and. Unfortunately, the Eagles were not able to come away with a win, but it's going to be interesting today seeing the Eagles down at the link in the rain and wet weather, and Carson Wentz coming back to give the offense a boost, but his weapons are not quite going to be there just yet. He's, going to be going out there with a depleted running back core. Only 2 healthy running backs because Clement has a quad thing going on, so they're going to have to watch that during the course of the game because you want to get him through the game, want him playing all 4 quarters, so they're going to have to monitor his usage during the early part of the game so that he's fresh and available in the fourth quarter when they may need him. I mean...
but what it's going to come down to is whether or not that offensive line can protect Carson Wentz, give him time to get the ball to his receivers. That and will the defense actually get to Andrew Luck?
That's going to be key because, as I said during the interview, Andrew Luck is completing 71% of his passes, high rate, but they're going for short yardage. He's not throwing the ball down the field enough. So,
and if anybody knows Carson Wentz, it would be the Colts head coach.
Frank Reich, yep. So. But, going into this game, the last time Carson Wentz lost at the link, do you know when that was?
When was that?
It was 21 months ago. He lost.
Of course, well, he was out for a couple months, but he was out there at the end of the year. So.
He lost 27-22 to the Redskins. Since then, he's 8-0, 13-3 overall, and the Eagles have won 12 straight meaningful.
13-3 overall at the link. That's pretty good for his career.
Yeah, 13-3 since then. Yep. Eagles, if you want another positive stat, Eagles are 16-3 at the link under Doug Peterson, so they don't lose it all down there. Very infrequently do the Eagles lose. The last time was a 27-13 loss in 2016. 4-point game in the fourth. It was a 4-point game in the fourth quarter. So, some positive signs going for the Eagles heading into this one. They don't lose that often. They get their stud quarterback back. And
so are you scared of this game, or are you thinking this is going to be more of an easy win for the Eagles?
No, again, I don't think it's going to be an easy win just because of the familiarity factor. Because when you get head coaches that are familiar with tendencies, when you get an opposing head coach that's familiar with the opposing quarterback that he knows really well. Frank Reich helped build Carson Wentz in the NFL, so he's familiar with any little ticks, any little tendencies that Wentz may have. So when you get this, a lot of times it comes down to execution. Will the offensive line execute against the defensive line? What will happen there? Will the Eagles' defensive line be able to execute against the Eagles' offensive line? What about the skill possessions? Will the Eagles be able to run the ball? how effectively will
and Carson Wentz is going to have to be creative, get out of the pocket, make some plays on his own, improvise a lot in this game to open things up for his receivers.
Absolutely,
and running backs when he throws, and tight ends. I might.
Do they go with the two tight ends?
Yes.
Do we actually see? Do we actually have a sighting of Dallas Goedert in this one? Oh my! Where was he last week? Where?
I don't know.
Where?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. He wasn't on the field.
Yeah, maybe like 3 snaps or something. That's what it felt like. He was invisible last week, and he was their number 2. And he was our high draft pick last year in this year's draft. I mean, come on, you got to get Dallas Goedert involved.
Is that because he's on your fantasy team?
No, I dropped him.
Oh, you dropped him. So you've lost confidence in the guy.
He wasn't getting the ball. Hey, it's all about fantasy, right? All about fantasy. Wasn't getting the ball. Have to drop him. Had to pick up a tight end.
That's right, folks. Yeah, my brother dropped My brother dropped Goddard. So he's not expecting a whole lot of production this week out of Goddard.
Actually, I am.
You are?
Yeah. But
so why would you drop him?
Because there was a better tight end out there. Who was producing. Yeah, it's all about wins in fantasy. But, in reality, when we go to reality, I think Goddard should be on the field, should be producing along with Zach Ertz, should be creating mismatches for the opposition. And this may be a week where, since Frank Reich knows the Eagles so well, that they use Dallas Goedert and use the mismatches that he may get against the Indianapolis Colts.
And we will take a break, and we will come back and talk about the Cleveland Browns and that amazing win that they had, along with a retirement in the NFL at halftime. So stay tuned.
Can you believe that? Oh, my gosh. So stay tuned for that. 609-919-9200 is the phone number if you want to jump aboard. Also, tweet us, Instagram us, Facebook us. We want to hear from you. Predictions, anything you want to talk about, baseball, football, basketball, Sixers actually have a GM now. Whatever you want to talk about, it's open. Jump aboard, and we'll be right back with some more NFL talk, like Jeff said.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Make sure you like, follow, and share.
Remember the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name? Never been there. But every time I walk into Wildflowers restaurant on Pennington Circle, I feel at home and that I belong. Friday night, I headed over to Wildflowers, and even though it was packed, I easily found a seat at the bar and got cozy with 17 TVs. Baseball, golf, entertainment TV, you name it, including all NFL games. The bartender Dave suggested I order the Buffalo Wing Sampler, and you could tell he was a fervent fan. But reviews on Wildflowers Inn Restaurant Facebook page demanded I tried the garbage truck pizza, and Kelly had just arrived and promised to help me dig in. Then it came. Garbage truck pizza does not live up to its name because it smells amazing and it tastes even better. Freshly sliced peppers and pepperoni, garlic, mushrooms, mozzarella, and meatballs all baked on this incredibly crunchy and warm double crust to hold it all together perfectly. Heaven, especially with one of their 23 beers on tap. I'm a believer. Go to wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more info or just come in. They are conveniently located on the Pennington Circle, right near I-95. I promise you, they will welcome you warmly, feed you well, and perhaps soon even know your name.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.
Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, they tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. 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 We always could spot a friend. Welcome back.
And welcome back to the Sports Skillet Radio Show right here on SportsSkilletRadio.com and Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to us. I am Jay. I've got Jeff here. Mike next to me as well. Dave working the board. So we want to hear from you. 609-919-9200 is the phone number if you want to jump aboard and give us your opinion on the NFL games today. What took place last week. Sixers, Phillies, Yankees, teams clinching playoff spots. Whatever you want to talk about, that's why we are here. We are the Sports Skillet Radio Show. And as Jeff said right before the break, we're going to get into a little Jets and Brownies. And Jeff, both teams look like they have their franchise quarterback.
Well, I know one does in Cleveland, and I'm wondering about the Jets. We'll see, but that was not a very good performance by the Jets quarterback.
Mike, what did you think?
I didn't like it.
I really thought the game got out of hand. I thought the Jets had complete control in the first half, it seemed like. But once Baker Mayfield came in for the Browns, they decided to just fold over and not play defense. And the stats in the first half between the two quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Tyrod Taylor, were absolutely awful. I mean, both quarterbacks
More
combined.
like embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. Both quarterbacks combined only had like 4 or 5 completions and didn't even hit 100 yards.
The only star of the game was Baker Mayfield in this game, and the Jets quarterback obviously had opportunities to win the game late, and he just couldn't get it done. So it's something that obviously will be a learning experience for Sam Darnold, and he'll have to come back from this. And obviously, it's always going to be the great trivia question: who is the team that obviously, broke the string of this tremendous losing streak? And I'll get into that as my hero of the week later in the show is the Cleveland Browns, and I will get into that. But with some amazing statistics on the streak of Cleveland. But just like I said, Cleveland is not. What I saw after the game was like a party like you would never have believed. It was like they won the Super Bowl.
Free beer! The beer fridge is open.
Well, that was it. I mean, it was like, they won a game and the city went nuts. So, that's really how bad football has been in the city of Cleveland, that just getting a victory prompted that kind of a party. And to be quite honest, everybody is saying that this is at least a 4 or 5 win team on the season, at least. So they're not. This is not a bad team, especially with Baker Mayfield at the helm. This team is going to win more than just a few games on this season, and they should be. And I was discussing this with our board out. They should be undefeated. I mean, they really should be.
Absolutely, without question.
And they had a kicker, and I talked about that, and we were talking about the kicking game and how atrocious it's been in the NFL. I mean, it's been god awful, and. That's
I have a couple things to say about
spend
that.
some money. Can these teams spend some money? I know they try and save some money going into the season with rookie kickers, and that's where they try and save money to stay under the cap. But can you please spend some money on these kickers, please? I mean, would it really hurt these teams to spend some money? Because with all these games being as close as they are, you would think that these teams would want to invest in a quality kicker.
And Mike, you have something to say about it?
Yeah, just couple things. Just not trying to give like my opinion or anything, but just like trying to talk the real deal, trying to tell the truth. Like that's why I'm here, and that's what I want to do for Sports Skillet. NFL kickers, the one thing that they are paid to do is to kick the ball in between the uprights. If they cannot do that, then they should lose their job. And I saw that a bunch in week 2. And it wasn't just, Dan Carlson of the Vikings. The one game, it was Zane Gonzalez, the Cleveland Browns. He missed 4 of his extra points, plus a couple of field goals, plus the game-tying plus the go-ahead field goal that they could have against the Saints after scoring the touchdown, and then missing the tying field goal to try and send the game into overtime. I mean, it's with the Cleveland Browns, I'm not bought on them yet being a good team. They constantly find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, find ways to lose the game, and then they're back to square one, where they are every season. And that win, I think, was much needed, especially for the city, from waiting almost over 2 years for that team to win one game. 2 years.
You can't fathom how long that is. I mean, that is a drought unlike we've ever experienced in the NFL. I mean,
only 3 teams worse.
Only 3 teams worse. I mean, everybody would be apoplectic in the city.
One of them was an expansion team in Tampa.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. People are in this area with the Jets, with the Giants, with the Eagles. They would be apoplectic if any of those teams went through the same streak.
Absolutely.
I mean, they would be beside themselves in rage and anger and just... I can't even describe what would be going on with the fan bases in this area.
Well, the Eagles have had some rough seasons under Kotite and so forth. So
yeah, but at least they had a win under Kotite. Kotite's team tanked during the latter part of the season, but at least they had a win there, and at least they knew Jeff Lurie would take action, and they would start winning, and they won games the following season. They didn't go a whole 16 games without winning a game.
Well, maybe you get a front office that doesn't screw up so many draft picks. That would be a help, especially high draft picks.
Exactly. And especially at the quarterback position, you have to get that right. But when you're constantly changing coaching staffs, when you're changing GMs, that's something that'll happen because each GM, each coaching staff has a quarterback that they like or a system that they think this particular quarterback will fit into. And that's what ends up happening. You start reaching for quarterbacks that you think can work, and eventually you have to pick a GM, pick a coaching staff, and kind of write it. And that's what happened with the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. They have a coaching staff and GM that's been in place for a couple of seasons now, and they went out and they got their quarterback. And you could just feel the wave of excitement that came over Cleveland and in the stadium. It was electric. To me, it came through the TV. Like, I just watched the Cleveland Browns struggle throughout that first quarter. They weren't able to move the ball at all.
There's no offense whatsoever.
None. It was absolutely ugly for the Cleveland Browns. It was disgusting, and I don't blame the fans for chanting for...
You got to look at the play calling, too.
You got to look at the play calling as well. You had to look at the receivers dropping balls.
Well, Thankfully, Carlos Hyde and Jarvis Landry were trying to show up. Probably the only 2 players that got this team back into gear.
Exactly.
Carlos Hyde, former 49er, just to point that out.
Exactly.
He got me 24 points on my fantasy team, so I'm not going to complain.
Running back.
He's a very good running back.
Yes.
He just needs to be in a system where I think he can progress as a player, and I think he's found that in Cleveland.
I think so too. As long as they'll commit to him and give him enough carries and work him in there, I think he can function really well.
Speaking of Cleveland, Jay, should the Eagles or the Jets have signed Josh Gordon?
No. Let the New England Patriots have him. Let the New England Patriots deal with him. Let him be Bill Belichick's problem.
Yep.
And when he turns out to be the third best receiver with Tom Brady, top 5 receiver in the league, well, then, you're going to look back and you're going to say, well, thank you very much.
But he's a risk. He's a risk and a liability.
Hey, look, that's what the Patriots do. And, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out for the Patriots. Sometimes it does. But I think he's in a good spot with Tom Brady. If there's ever a good spot to land with Tom Brady and that system and that environment to be put in that kind of cocoon in New England with the veterans and how that team works.
See,
it's Josh Gordon this is his last chance, and he has to know that this is really it for him. And to land with a team that has the potential to go to a Super Bowl, hey,
see,
you can't ask for a better.
I disagree with you there, because Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are going to ask everything out of Josh Gordon, because on New England, Josh Gordon is a number. That's all. That's all he is his uniform number. Because you look at all the wide receivers since the start of training camp, maybe even since the draft, that New England has cycled through and has released. They don't care. What they care about is Josh Gordon coming in.
Danny Amendola was one.
Danny Amendola, absolutely. They care about Josh Gordon coming in there, digesting that playbook from day one. Put your head in it. Learn it. We expect you to memorize it. Now, we don't care.
Yeah, this isn't the Cleveland Browns.
This isn't the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns cared for you. The Cleveland Browns gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
That's not going to happen in New England.
No, it's not.
Nope.
Not going to happen in New England. What's going to happen in New England is, Josh Gordon, do you know the playbook? You don't? See ya. We don't care. Bye. Gone.
And also, what are the chances he gets into trouble again?
Exactly.
I don't trust that he's all rehab helped or anything.
Yeah, so there is downside, but there's also tremendous. You look at him and the talent that he has. You can't deny that that if he puts the talent on there, and you put him down and you say, you know what, this guy could be a top 5 receiver in the NFL for the season.
Oh, absolutely. But
this could be an absolute, unequivocal steal for the New England Patriots.
It could be. Absolutely, it could be.
So if he actually works out, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to say, oh,
Plus, also, they get Edelman back in 2 weeks.
Thank you for allowing New England to take a chance on a top 5 receiver again and bring him and put him back.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of teams that will look back on it and say, hey, we could have had Josh Gordon.
And the Eagles are one of those teams, like it or not. They need receivers. Now, again, if they're going to recycle, they're recycling their receivers. They're going back into the past, and they're bringing guys back to alleviate their wide receiver woes.
Yeah, but
in Josh Matthews,
Jordan Matthews,
I should say.
But here's the difference: Jordan Matthews could come in and play this week for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if that would have been the case with Josh Gordon. He would have had, in my opinion, a limited playbook, if at all, because normally it takes a wide receiver at least a week or so to at least get on the field when he's coming to a new team.
But you got to think about the opportunity. I mean, if this works out, you've got Gronkowski and you got Gordon out there, and that's going to take some heat off of Gronkowski.
Oh yeah,
you're going to have to cover. I mean, you're going to have to figure out a way to cover these guys. So
one of them's getting
one of them's getting open.
One of them's getting single coverage.
But we saw last week the Jaguars did a really good job of shutting down all the Patriots wide receivers and Gronk, and it shows that the Patriots aren't this superpower team that everybody plays them out to be. The Jaguars exposed them for who they are. And it showed that, any team can beat the Patriots. It doesn't have to be one team. And that's why, I'm trying to, tell everybody that it's that the Patriots aren't as good as they once were. It's just that teams, they just find ways to expose their defense, and that's where Tom Brady finds. If you cover all of his his weapons and then pass rush using your defensive line. And that's what Jacksonville's defense has. They have a good defensive line, and they have a good linebacking core. They have a good secondary. They have a good all-around team.
Exactly.
You're not going to have to convince my brother of that.
Exactly.
He's been off the Patriot bandwagon all year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not on it whatsoever.
He was not. He was off of it when they were in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and without question. Now, I want to ask you guys, changing the subject real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with Vontae Davis retiring at halftime?
Oh, my goodness. You know, when I first saw this come out, I was literally shocked because I don't know if he was trying to do... You have to look at it both two ways. Is it a publicity stunt or is he doing out of his own will? From what I seen and what game I was watching when they were playing the Chargers, I felt like he was doing it. He was giving up. He just gave up on the team, basically said, "Look, guys, I don't think we're going anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to retire at half." I don't think he did it out of his own will, to be honest. I really don't.
And it's about to get ugly between him and the Buffalo Bills because apparently right now the Bills are expected to pursue Vontae Davis' signing bonus. It hasn't happened yet, but they're expected to file the paperwork shortly. Davis is was owed $1.5 million signing bonus, so it's about to get ugly up in. Not that it wasn't ugly already up in Buffalo. And this was a play. And the thing is, what people have to remember is this was a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
And
By
this team is
circumstance, though.
This team has now become one of the worst teams in the league. McDermott really is having some issues up there in Buffalo.
Well, how about starting Nathan Peterman week 1? I think that was mistake 1. I mean, this guy threw 5 interceptions against the Chargers. 2 of them were for touchdowns. And why would you start in week 1 when you drafted Josh Allen and you guys were harping on this guy all preseason?
So
why would you start in week 1?
So maybe Vontae Davis just saw the writing on the wall and said how crappy a team this thing is.
Yeah.
And said, okay, I'm out of here.
But to retire at halftime, I've never seen, out of all of the years that I've watched the NFL since I was 10 years old, not once have I ever seen a player retire at halftime. This is probably the most shocking thing I've ever seen in the NFL.
And I will say that is really despicable because it really hangs your teammates out to dry. You can't really, you can obviously replace a player from your bench and what you have in the game, but still, you're leaving your teammates totally out to dry. You're just saying, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here.
It's ridiculous.
Goodbye. It's beyond the pale, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you had
to do it.
Yeah.
But again, if you're looking at it, his mindset may have been, hey, this team is going down to Johnny Flusher. I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I don't have in his mind. He was checking out anyway, and it was like, okay, I'm finished. So, but that's why I say, McDermott has a lot of work to do now with the Bills.
Oh, absolutely. They're definitely the worst team
and,
in that.
And like I said, the organization, it's about to get ugly between the two. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with you, Jeff. I think it was absolutely a disgusting thing to do because he had to have it in his mind going into the game.
He had to. Yeah.
He had to be warm-ups like I'm not feeling it. You
don't do that out of the blue like that.
You don't. You have to have it in your mind and to just walk away at halftime because you cost your team a roster spot.
But here's the thing. Get this. In all, his abrupt retirement, he walks away with less than $700,000 for a 2018 salary that could have been worth $5 million. So just think about that for a second.
Well, I mean, that's on him. But, for your teammates who are counting on you to be a part of this team and to be...
But don't feel sorry for him, Jay, because he did earn
I don't.
No.
I don't feel sorry for him whatsoever.
He did earn over $35 million during a Pro Bowl career.
The Bills should not feel sorry for him, and I don't think the city should feel sorry for him.
No.
Not at all. Nobody should feel sorry for him. People should feel sorry for the Buffalo Bills. That's who they should feel sorry for.
Yes.
They should feel sorry for his teammates who he let down by retiring at halftime. There's a roster spot that if he had it in his mind, he could have gone to the head coach, could have gone to the GM and said, that's it. I'm filing my papers and I'm retiring. So that way the Buffalo Bills could have had that roster spot and pulled somebody up into it and had a complete roster for the full 4 quarters of the game. Now all of a sudden they're playing shorthanded.
And Jay, where would you like to watch the NFL this afternoon? If you're going to go somewhere, where would you like to go?
There's only one place I would like to go, Jeff, and I think you know where that is.
Yeah, I'm going to say Wildflowers Restaurant on the Painted Circle, because we all know that good food goes well with good friends. Kind of like the Eagles and their Super Bowl quarterback coming back to action today, right? He's coming back to play. Serena Williams, chair umpires, and controversy. Aaron Rodgers and fourth quarter comebacks. But what goes best with family and friends on game day or any day? That's an easy one. Wildflowers Restaurant on the Painted Circle has 23 beers on tap, flat screen TVs in every room, and Moonshine Mondays from 9 until close. Check out wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more specials, because we all know that nothing goes better with friends and family than Wildflowers on the Painted Circle, Jay.
Absolutely. Head over to Wildflowers today. Enjoy the game and have an adult beverage. I'm sure it'll be a fun time over at Wildflowers.
And watch on all those TVs. I'm sure they'll have plenty of the NFL action going on, and that food is tremendous, and especially the garbage truck pizza. So dig in, everybody.
Absolutely. Lots still to discuss today on the Sports Skillet Radio Show, so stay tuned for hour number 2. We'll be starting it off with Shayne McGowan, the coach. We'll go on air with the coach. Some more NFL talk on the way as well. We got to talk some MLB playoffs, too. Cleveland, Boston, Atlanta, all in the playoffs. And was this Philly season a success or failure? Twish, this week in sports history, heels and heroes coming up, and we'll preview around the league week 2 coming up as well. Stay tuned. Hour number 2, 609-919-9200 if you want to get in.
Broadcasting from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios.
Welcome back to hour number 2 here on the Sports Skillet Radio Show, right here on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey and SportsSkilletRadio.com. Want to encourage you to check out our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as downloading the Fox Sports Radio 920 app, which can be found on our website, SportsSkilletRadio.com. So you can listen on the go wherever you happen to be. You can just hit up the app and listen to Sports Skillet Radio. We appreciate it. Hi-yo, here we go with hour number 2, and we're going to start it out by going on air with the coach, Shayne McGowan, where Shayne tackles our most sizzling topics of the week. Check him out at USA Today High School Sports. Podcasts all over the place. Also give him a follow on Instagram at Shayne7551. And check out his podcast. Check out his website, mentaledgeperformance.ca. Shayne, how are you doing this Sunday morning?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. We got a big lineup of football. It's an exciting weekend, that's for sure.
And from our social media page, you enjoyed Jeff, Kelly, and my acting abilities last weekend.
That was amazing. You guys should be in Hollywood. I mean, I'll tell you right now, you guys should be in Hollywood. Stunt doubles. You guys could be doubles for everybody.
We just, wanted to wish you a special happy birthday in our own Sports Skillet way.
That was amazing. I appreciated it. I had lots of people comment on it. And like I said, thank you very much from all of you down there. I appreciate it, and the fans as well.
All right. Let's get to it. So we have today over at Lincoln Financial Field the Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz returning to action. From afar, what are you expecting out of Carson Wentz in this game today against the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, A, how's he going to respond to getting hit naturally? But B, is he going to be mobile enough to get out of the pocket if it collapses on him, and can he do something on the run a little bit as well? I mean, those are going to be very, very important things for him, and he knows that as well. He needs to understand that, you know what, timing, I think, is also going to be real crucial out there. How good is his timing? Is the ball getting out fast enough for him to his receivers, and does he have enough time in that pocket to release the ball too? So he's got to get himself comfortable first, and his guys know that. And I think that's the biggest thing. His guys know that, and they're going to do everything they can to help him out.
Now, also, we got on the opposing sideline the former Eagles offensive coordinator. How much of a chess match do you think this is going to be between the Eagles and the Colts?
Well, I mean, it's always like that when you have coaches or ex-players that have moved from teams and all of a sudden you're playing each other. And in this case, you're playing each other fairly close, too. I mean, within the season just starting. So it is, in some ways, you know, going to be very interesting to see how they do it. And naturally, I mean, Doug Peterson is going to have a lot more tricks up his sleeve of things that they need to change. But again, too, is really, I mean, the game is the same. It's just a matter of how fast can you put defensively, can you put pressure on Carson Wentz? I mean, that's what they're going to come down to, is what can that defensive team do of the Colts to minimize what Carson Wentz is wanting to do out there. And I think that's what's going to play a big factor. And I think they feel if they can get in Carson, his zone area, if they can rattle him quick enough, they might feel that they've got some opportunities. But again, you've still got great running backs out there, too, that are going to carry that load, and you've got a strong D as well.
Oh, the Eagles have a strong D. Hopefully it comes to play, because last week against Tampa Bay, I don't think the Eagles' defense came to play at all.
They were asleep. You are absolutely asleep. And, I mean, look, I give Fitzpatrick all the credit in the world for everything that he did out there. But that was not the Eagles' defense from the week before. And I think that was a big awakening for these guys to say, holy cow, we got to go out there, we got to play.
And, Shayne, how about that win in Cleveland? Obviously, the players went nuts like they won the Super Bowl after losing so many games in a row. It's got to be such a relief to finally get that monkey off their back and get a victory.
You know what? That was the ideal time for them to win. I mean, look, you're going against a Jets team that I really don't think a Jets team is that bad of a team. I just think, though, when you have a rookie quarterback in there that is not used to certain pressure, and Cleveland's D front, that front four is tough, and they can put a lot of problems on you if they have to. They get their hands up, they know what they're doing. But again, from last week, I really was shocked that they allowed and played Tyrod Taylor to start that game. I actually thought we were going to go with Baker, just due to the fact of who they were playing against the Jets, against a rookie QB as well. And I thought Tyrod did not have a very strong outing last weekend. So I really thought Mayfield was going to come in sooner. But the fact that he did come in and what he did, look at, he played smart. He played control ball. Give the kudos also to the coaching staff, too, that called great plays out there as well when needed, as well as that running back in the Hayes. I mean, that guy, that was some impressive play calling and good plays by all of them all around.
And, Shayne, how about the Oakland Raiders? We know that's your team, and, boy, you hear head coach John Gruden say, gee, I would like to have a pass rush. Gee, I wonder where his pass rush is. I think it's over in Chicago right now.
Yeah, his pass rush is having a nice big slice of pizza over there in Chicago is what he's doing, because he's an all-star. He's a celebrity. He's everything, and he could have been with Oakland if they would have just paid the price that they know they would have to pay anyways for an elite pass rusher. I mean, when you looked at what Donaldson got there with the Rams, you knew Khalil was going to get the same, if not a little bit more. And I just don't understand why they played around so much like that, because you're right. You lost somebody that you desperately needed to solidify that front four defense out there. And now you're going to say things like that. To me, you just look ridiculous. And, yeah, as the biggest fan in the world of this team since day one, is very frustrating, just like everybody down there is very frustrated. The players are going to be getting frustrated, too, because they know what they lost with Khalil Mack. And you can only rely on your offense to do so much and produce so much, but your defense is also a big part. And they're giving up way too much. And this is what I'm saying. John Gruden is also, and I'll say this, against that Denver game, he did not call a very smart offensive play schemes out there at all. There's a lot of things that were missed and not done properly as coaches in controlling the clock and the time and the ball wise. So I got to put a little bit onuses on the coaching staff as well, because I was kind of disappointed in some of that stuff.
And then, Shane, there are the Buffalo Bills and Vontae Davis retiring at halftime. Shane, the floor is yours on a player actually giving up on his team at halftime.
That is the most uncardly sin you could ever do or happen or have or be part of. And, I mean, there's no question about the uproar. First and foremost of the team not even performing up to what they should be. But, again, you've got a player now who actually walks out on your team, just shows exactly how, in some ways, dysfunctional things are. But, again, I mean, the players that are there right now, they're just sitting back going, you know what? If this is what this man is like, we don't need him. We don't want that, and we need to move forward. So they'll vent. They'll be vocal about what happened. And that man now has to live with that. There's no question about that. He's got to live with that for the rest of his life, his career, and that is going to be part of his legacy in that way. To me, that's the worst thing you could do is give up on your team at any time, just walking out. It's different if you're injured and something happened, but you literally said, I'm done at the half. And, I mean, to me, that just doesn't happen. So, again, the Bills already have that distraction. They've already got their own team unorganized in so many ways of you know, they don't have a quarterback is basically what it's coming down to. And they've got no faith in what's happening so far. And I think this weekend is definitely just going to be, again, I think Vikings are favored by over 17 points. I mean, you don't have an easy schedule. So they really need to be looking and saying, we need to do something. And personally, I'm quite surprised they never even tried to go after Teddy Bridgewater in some ways, too. I mean, that guy was floating around from the Jets and everything like that. Now he's just playing backup in New Orleans. I mean, that kid at least could do something because he has the experience. So I do think that something's going to happen pretty soon, whether it be even a coach is being moved as well.
Or, you know, maybe Nick Foles, I think, is available, right, Jay? Yeah. I mean, for
I don't know if he's available at the moment. Maybe by the trading deadline, once they get some of these injured players back.
Yeah. But that's another name that can be floated around.
Well, there's no question. There's no question about that. Nick Foles is going to be the hottest commodity as well, just due to the fact of, A, he's won a game already, and B, he's got a Super Bowl championship, all within a year span. So, I mean, it comes down to, but what can Buffalo give up? I mean, other than draft picks to the Eagles.
That's true. Not too many players. I mean, the Eagles got Darby off of them last season. So, other than draft picks, you're right. There's not a whole heck of a lot for Buffalo to give to Philly. I also wanted to switch over real quick and talk about the New York Giants. They've been struggling. They have a must-win game today against the Houston Texans. Both teams are searching for their first win of the season. You go 0-3 in this league, Shane, and you're not making the playoffs at all.
I'm telling you, one thing, Shane, I will say, Manning is getting killed right now.
Oh, that is an absolute brutal offensive line out there for him, and he is suffering. And he's almost one hit away from being injured, if you really think about that last game. And to me, as Eli Manning, I'm saying, listen, we need more pass protection out there because, and again, the receivers aren't getting as open as they should either. So, I mean, it's a combination of a couple of things too. But, you do need an O-line to protect you, and you're right. Everybody now is in a must-win. Houston, and this is what I'm saying, is I think Houston's going to pull this one off as well. I think Houston's got that step ahead that they can do it. And I just think it's due to the fact that there's going to be too much pressure put on Eli again. And, you can't even run the ball if you don't have an O-line that can make openings. So, I mean, Barkley isn't having any success either because of this. So it's very, very tough. I mean, they didn't do a very good job at getting guys for that front five to help him. I mean, receivers are going to do what they can, but I mean, if you got to cut your route off too short, you're still not making a first down. You're still not moving the chains. So really, it's not working for you. And I mean, Eli is not that mobile quarterback to get moving, but something's going to be happening pretty soon. And I got a feeling, again, he's one hit away from being on that injured list as well.
And here's the other scary thought about it. On the Giants schedule coming up week 13, which will be Sunday, December 2nd, all you have is the Bears rolling into MetLife Stadium where the Giants are playing, and Khalil Mack going up against Eric Flowers or Eric Flowers' replacement. I'm thinking Derek Thomas's record of 7 sacks in a game could tumble that week.
Oh, I've been the biggest Khalil Mack fan since he was with Oakland, and, you know, it kills me that he's with Chicago, but he is going to dominate just like what he did against Green Bay in this first game. I mean, this man is on a roll, and he just knows how to play. He's playing not only with the biggest contract, but he's playing with some pride inside of him and some spite that he's just like, I am here to show you all what I am worth. So, yes, going against the Giants, he is going to have a heyday. He's probably even going to have another touchdown.
And Shayne, switching over to baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies were eliminated from playoff contention yesterday by Atlanta. How does a team that really, you know, they were leading the division in early August, how does a team mentally come back from this kind of collapse that they've had over the last month and a half and regenerate things going into the 2019 season?
You know what, they got to start first and say, where did it tumble? Like I said, a few weeks ago, as that trainers, coaching staff, everybody like that, they need to look and say, where did we start to fall apart? Was it in the pitching? Was it in the pitching rotation? Did we have problems at the batting and everything like that? Once you start picking it apart, you can start to see how things start to crumble a little bit more. Now make certain adjustments. I do think that in the rotation of the pitching, they had some messes, they had some mix-ups, they had a lot of dysfunctional type of situations happening, and they also weren't keeping their guys as hungry as they should have. Yeah, I mean, you got a good team up there, young team in many ways, but again, you got to keep these guys hungry with that intensity, just like what the Yankees did just before you guys a year plus, where they were on a roll. That young guys, they just came out there and said, "Hey, we're here to play. The game doesn't change. I love this game. This is how we got to do this," and they kept winning and winning and doing quite well. You guys should have been like that as well. But they took their time at getting to the bottom of it, and they still couldn't fix it. And I think that's what they need to look at and say, why in August did this happen? What changed so dramatically? And I think if they can figure that part out and realize on how next season coming in, they can solidify that, they will do a lot better at making it further and further. Because like I said, you've got the talent. You may have to tweak a few things, get a couple of changes in, but you got to get more consistency out there, and this is where they got to start.
Do you think it's a matter of the manager getting a little bit over his head when things started to tumble, that he just couldn't get things corrected?
He overwhelmed himself, no question about that. You start overwhelming, you start overthinking. You almost don't know in some ways, okay, where do I start? And that's what I'm saying is, again, the people around him as well may not have helped as much as they should have. If I was, put it this way, and I'm going to toot my own horn here, if I was there on that organization, I'd be saying, okay, look, you got to handle how you want to rotate them. My job is to make sure these guys understand that and they feel good about where they are and what they're going to be doing. And I think that's where they started lacking. He just put too much responsibility on the players to go out there, guys, do your best, and I'll try to figure out a schedule, instead of actually being in there more of saying, listen, we need this. We got to work on this. You're good. Your confidence has to be higher, blah, 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 all that stuff. He didn't do any of that.
Do you think it's a matter of the players wanting to have a stable environment, and I'm talking about the lineup and so forth, where you're not moving guys in and out and those guys know their roles and understand what's to be expected of them from a game-to-game basis?
Exactly. You're exactly correct. It's no different than other sports that play that many games, whether it be the NHL or basketball and stuff. You start tweaking lines, especially in hockey, all over the place. Oh, I'm moving this guy. Nobody knows how to play out there. They're all over the place. It doesn't make for anything better. It actually puts more stress and pressure. Well, it's the same thing in baseball like that too. I think if you try to do too much like that, especially as late as they were, and they weren't, they were still in the running on a lot of things. It's almost like you got a bit of a brainstorm in your mind, but technically and realistically, it isn't going to work. You should have just kept how the guys were in some ways, but you got to help them get over their little yips and humps and everything like that to make them feel like they're ready for the upcoming season, the rest of the season and the playoffs.
Absolutely, Shayne. And I want to thank you for joining us this week on the Sports Skillet Radio Show. Looking forward to having you join us next week. Can you let us know what you got going on this week?
Yes, you know what? Again, we're real busy here with the NFL naturally and stuff. A couple of other guys coming up from the colleges too. So, I mean, a big haul. Loving it all. Thank you guys for everything for this week, and we will talk next Sunday. All the best to all of you.
Absolutely, and we want to encourage everybody to give you a follow at Shayne7551 on Instagram, and check out your website, mentaledgeperformance.ca, and also USA Today High School Sports. Shayne, can't wait to go on air with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Have a great one, guys.
You too, Shayne.
And we will take a break, and we'll come back on the other side and chat about Major League Baseball and the pennant races coming up as we are in the home stretch, Jay, of this baseball season.
Absolutely. Right back with some MLB talk after this.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Make sure you like, follow, and share.
Remember the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name? Never been there. But every time I walk into Wildflowers restaurant on Pennington Circle, I feel at home and that I belong. Friday night, I headed over to Wildflowers, and even though it was packed, I easily found a seat at the bar and got cozy with 17 TVs. Baseball, golf, entertainment TV, you name it, including all NFL games. The bartender Dave suggested I order the Buffalo Wing Sampler, and you could tell he was a fervent fan. But reviews on Wildflowers Inn Restaurant Facebook page demanded I tried the garbage truck pizza, and Kelly had just arrived and promised to help me dig in. Then it came. Garbage truck pizza does not live up to its name because it smells amazing and it tastes even better. Freshly sliced peppers and pepperoni, garlic, mushrooms, mozzarella, and meatballs all baked on this incredibly crunchy and warm double crust to hold it all together perfectly. Heaven, especially with one of their 23 beers on tap. I'm a believer. Go to wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more info or just come in. They are conveniently located on the Pennington Circle, right near I-95. I promise you, they will welcome you warmly, feed you well, and perhaps soon even know your name.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.
Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Carson Wentz, to the Philadelphia Eagles. We've missed you. And welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Skillet Radio Show right here on sportsskilletradio.com and Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. Again, we want to encourage you to give us a call. 609-919-9200 is the phone number. If you want to jump aboard, everything's on the menu from Major League Baseball to the NFL. Sixers hire a new GM as well.
Hey, Tiger Woods is leading a tournament.
Tiger Woods is leading a tournament. Oh, my gosh.
He may actually win.
He may actually
I know
win.
Kelly would be watching it because she's, all into the Tiger Woods and hoping that he can get off the schneid and actually, get a victory here before the end of the golf season here.
Yep.
But, Jay, as Carson Wentz comes back, the Phillies say sayonara.
Exactly. Phillies playoff hopes are officially over.
Not that they weren't in the 1st of September, but officially it has ended. The collapse is complete.
Exactly. And now
And it only took the Atlanta Braves 3 games to do it. And you know what really is a depressing part? The ace, Aaron Nola, had nothing to say.
No, he pitches today.
He pitches today, and so all this maneuvering to try and get him into both Atlanta series was a moot point.
Exactly. The only thing the Phillies have left to play for
is at this
what?
point, you may want to just pitch him today and then shut him down.
Well,
play for pride.
Yeah. I mean, that's all the Phillies have left to play for is to try and get over 500 and finish the season.
Jay's praying for that. He's trying to figure out a way to do that. He has, obviously, those who don't realize, before the season started, me and my brother made a bet here on Sports Skillet. One of us would donate $100 to charity based on the amount of wins. I said right on the button, 81 wins on the season, and it looks like I'm going to be closer than Jay's 88 wins.
Exactly.
So
my 88 wins is done. They're not.
Well, you can't win 80. They cannot win 80. It's mathematically impossible now.
Exactly.
Good effort, though.
Good, hey, that collapse was one for the books. And Gabe Kapler obviously is going to feel a lot of heat going into this offseason. I agree. I don't think he's going to be fired. Obviously, they're going to keep him on. This is Matt Klentak. They're all in line here with the analytics. This is where the Phillies are. This is where that organization is. So the fans are obviously completely frustrated by the fact of how this team is run. How the players are just shifted out from inning to inning, and just the kind of mess that the Phillies have become.
Well, it's not so much the shifting. Well, it is. A lot of people disagree with the shifting, and that's fine. But here's the thing, and we posted this on our Facebook page. And what it was
they just don't have enough good players.
What it was is the Phillies employed. What was it? Thursday night, the Phillies employed a shift. Okay, you want to disagree with the shift? Agree, disagree? Okay, that's one thing. Put that aside for a little bit. The only player that they had playing on the left side of the infield, and he was in the shortstop position, kind of shaded a little bit towards second base, was Carlos Santana. Now, and there was a runner at first base at the time. Now, Carlos Santana is not the most fleet of foot of all the Phillies players in that dugout Thursday night. You could have put a bunch of other players out there. In fact, they had Cesar Hernandez on the field, their second baseman. He was playing, I think, according to the picture, between first and second base, kind of shifted into the outfield. Put Hernandez in that shortstop hole, for crying out loud. But to have Carlos Santana as the only person on that side of the field, even if you disagree with the shift, put that aside. Santana should in no way have been positioned in that shortstop hole. That is egregious managing. A coach, a player should have gone to Gabe Kapler and go, hello, Gabe, do you realize Santana is the one at shortstop? The chances of this working are something going bad are extremely high if he's the one playing shortstop over there and covering the left side of the field. just absolute. That tells you Gabe Kapler is not paying attention to little details that managers have to pay attention to. If you want to use the shift, fine, use the shift, but don't put Santana as your only person on the left side of the field. That is idiotic.
Going to be interesting to see this offseason whether or not they can convince guys like Harper or Machado to actually come in and play for this team, unless they want to completely overpay for their services and do what the Mets have done in past years with some of the players that they brought in over the years. Because coming into this situation right now, there are probably better situations around baseball than being on this Philly squad at this point.
Well, here's the thing, too, that you have to consider. If, like, Gabe Kapler had the Phillies in first place up through August. So what I'm going to say is, if the two halves of the season were flip-flopped and you had the Phillies finishing in first, starting off sluggish, and Gabe Kapler getting all the criticism up through...
But don't you think they got to that record, Jay, by more or less smoke and mirrors and oil? We know Gabe Kapler likes oil, right?
A little bit. A little bit, yeah. I mean, when your defense is garbage, I mean, they got to it through the strength of their starting pitching. That's really what it was.
And home runs.
And hitting some timely home runs, and that's really what it was, because you saw the Phillies suffer gut-punching loss after gut-punching loss and everything like that, and...
what was that one to the Mets? Was that like 25 runs?
It suffered 25 runs to the New York Mets.
Doubleheader.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it was just, you never knew what to expect with this team. And now they have to, and like we've been saying, there's more questions, I think, than answers at this point, which is not what you want heading into the offseason. You want answers.
Well, let me ask you guys, do you think Bryce Harper could make a difference? Maybe from all his playoff failures with the Nationals. Do you think?
I think he definitely could. I definitely think he could, because now you're batting him somewhere around Rhys Hoskins for a good 1-2 punch in that lineup. I think what that also does is make an outfielder, maybe even two outfielders, expendable.
I said, though, you sign Harper and there's a rotation that takes place because now you're moving Hoskins to first base. Now you're dealing with Santana. What do you do with Santana?
Well, not necessarily.
And all that. Well,
knowing the Phillies, don't assume that you're moving Hoskins.
I think they should. Okay, let me be honest. They should be moving Hoskins to first base.
I agree. I think Hoskins should have been playing. I think
Hoskins, to be fair, is a replacement kind of outfielder. He is not.
Yes.
He is not anywhere near what you want out there defensively. Great offensive player, great talent, but I think his home is at first base. And like I said, that was a bad signing by the Phillies in signing. The first baseman,
Carlos
Santana. Yes.
Yeah, and I think now you may have a little bit of difficulty moving the contract unless the Phillies want to eat.
I think they're stuck with it. Yeah, I agree. I think they're stuck with it. So,
could be. I mean,
unless they want to eat a good percentage of
that's the only way you're gonna.
That's the way you're going to move it.
That's the only way you're going to wind up moving Carlos Santana, is taking a big chunk out of that contract, and trading. And first basemen right now are not really a commodity. Everybody seems to have a first baseman, so it's not as though teams are hunting and pecking around for first baseman. So, it's going to be a tough sell for Clintack to move on from Carlos Santana. I think Carlos Santana should be a bench player. That's, put Rhys Hoskins at first base, make Santana a bench guy, first guy off the bench, something like that. And that's the way he should be.
But looking around the league, looking around the National League right now, as far as the pennant races go, for fans, for teams other than the Phillies, you have a pretty good race, obviously, that's going to go on through the last week here. The Cubs are going to try and wrap up the Central right there over the Brewers. They have obviously up 3 games in the loss column right now, so you would think that the Cubs would obviously, be able to clinch the Central and probably the best record in the National League. Then you look and there's a big battle going on between Dodgers and the Braves to see who's going to be home for the divisional round of the playoffs. I think the Dodgers could get, obviously, win that division out west, but be careful because the Rockies have 4 games with the Phillies. So that obviously the Rockies will be home for that series, and they will be hungry, obviously, to take as many games as they can from that series from the Phillies to try and upset the Dodgers out west and try and steal that division from the Dodgers. Maybe force the Dodgers into the wild card position. Brewers look like they'll get in as one of the wild cards.
Yep.
So it looks like Cubs Brewers likely to get in. And then you have that big battle there between the Dodgers and Rockies and, of course, the Atlanta Braves. So the Phillies, based upon their remaining schedule, when you look at it, they play, obviously, one final game here in Atlanta today. Then they obviously go to Colorado, and then they finish up at home against Atlanta. None of those games are going to be easy because those teams have something to play. All those teams, both those teams, I should say, have something to play for.
Unless something gets clinched before then.
That's true.
Well, you even so, you're probably gonna. You're still gonna have that playoff positioning. I know Atlanta would love to bring the Western Division winner, whoever that is, whether the Dodgers or the Rockies, to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And of course, the Rockies being a game and a half back, but just 1 game back in the loss column right now to the Dodgers. That they're going to be playing as hard as they can against the Phillies coming up this week to try and get the Western Division crown. It's going to be fun. I think the National League is going to be fun. I think it's a wide open. I think the National League is wide open. It's going to be a fun playoffs, no matter how it kind of shakes out. Because I know the Cubs are obviously going to, for a lot of people, going to be the favorite, but I think they can be beat. I don't think the Cubs are, by any stretch, a team that is unbeatable going in there. I think the National League has had a lot of parity on the season, so I think that it's going to be a very interesting race in the National League. And then, of course, in the American League, things are basically cinched up and ready to go, except for the wild card. Whether or not the Yankees end up going to Oakland or Oakland ends up going to Yankee Stadium for the wild card.
And
that'll be fun.
And how about Boston clinching in Yankee Stadium? That had to be extra.
For all the Yankee fans out there, I know that was kind of they were right there. They were close. I'd say won the first 2 games. They were close to letting the Red Sox, making the Red Sox go away from Yankee Stadium without clinching, but they just couldn't get that final game.
I don't know. I think that the Yankees this year look like really good, and from watching a couple of their games, I don't really watch a lot of baseball, but the Yankees got a lot of young talent in Judge and getting Stanton, and then you have their 2 rookies, Torres and Andujar, who have been performing, and then also Aaron Hicks has been showing up. Walker's been. Okay, but...
And I'll tell you what, though, the Athletics are a real team.
That's true. Yes,
the Athletics have played very well this season, and that's going to be a heck of a 1-game playoff, no matter if it's in the Bronx or whether it's out there in Oakland. Certainly, Cleveland has done very well with their team. They've just guided.
They own that division.
They own that division. That division was a weak division.
No other team in that division showed up.
Only team over 500. In that division. So, congratulations to Terry Francona. I'm sure that he'll be happy to go back to the playoffs. And the Red Sox, it'll be amazing because the Red Sox are probably, I'm going to say it, the Red Sox are going to be the number 1 seed, so they will get the wild card winner. So they will get the winner of Yankees and Oakland. And can you imagine a division round series between the Red Sox and the Yankees? So it doesn't get any better than that. And then, of course, that would set up Houston playing Cleveland in the other series, which
Houston
which
wins
is
that
fantastic.
outright.
Yeah. Houston is just a fantastic.
Yeah.
Houston's a very good team. Houston's probably going back to the ALCS to battle probably either, in my opinion, Boston or New York. But don't think that Oakland couldn't go in there and beat the Yankees and head to Boston.
No.
So we'll see.
This is something the Yankees heading into the season absolutely unequivocally wanted to avoid, is this one-game winner-take-all wild card. And unfortunately, with Boston having a historic season,
105 and 50. It's 105 and 50 right now.
Having that historic season has pushed the Yankees to the wild card game, which they wanted to avoid.
What's really amazing is the during that time, the David Ortiz era and all those years where they won a World Series and they never won 100 games.
No.
Never won 100 games. So,
but it's their young talent, too. Mookie Betts and
Mookie.
Who's the other guy? Bogarts, Sandy Bogarts.
And, just unbelievable that the Yankees are going to be in this wild card game with some of the talent that the Yankees have on this team. And if they win, they go up against probably Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And then Boston clinches maybe in New York again.
But can you imagine, though, if they actually get back and they actually end up playing Houston again in the ALCS? That was a great ALCS last year, 7 games.
That was great,
that was pretty awesome.
It was a good fight.
Good fight, and I'm sure the Yankees would love to love another go of it with the world champion Houston Astros. And that Astros team is hungry, and they're looking loaded again to get back with Verlander and company. So
Absolutely.
It's going to be fun.
So to sum up our baseball discussion, Jeff, was this a successful season for the Phillies?
No, it wasn't. Not when you're in first place at the end, in the beginning of August. I think that it's you want to go in there and you want to finish up. And that's the thing about the Phillies that you look at is under Charlie Manuel, this team played well in August and September. Charlie always has teams ready to play in the money months, and I call them money months, August and September. That's when Charlie Manuel had his teams ready to play. This manager is the exact opposite. He had he has his teams ready to play April, May, June, but when it came to August and September, they bottomed out. So I can't say it's a successful season when you have an opportunity, especially since when you look at the division next year. I think that division is going to be better. The Mets are going to be a better team. They found some players. They found some guys that they can depend on. You know that they're going to have DeGrom. You know they're going to have Syndergaard. They're not going to get rid of those guys. They're looking right now and saying to themselves, and if you look at how they played in the second half of the season, you know that the Mets are going to be a better team than what they showed during that first half of the season. So, first half of this season. So, you know the Mets are going to be a little better. You know that Atlanta's not going anywhere without Kuna and so forth with their young players. So, the Phillies are going to have to find a way of improving this team because that division is going to be better. It may be one of the best divisions in baseball.
Could be, and I will go along with you as saying this was an unsuccessful season for the exact reasons that you mentioned. Because heading into the season, I think if you ask someone the question, would the Phillies playing meaningful baseball into September be a success?
You wanted 88 wins. You wanted 88 wins.
If you ask someone off the street, if the Phillies are playing meaningful baseball in September, is that a successful season? A lot of people would have said yes. But the way this season turned out, when you get new information, you readjust things. You readjust your viewpoint as new information comes in. Because what you're saying months ago, you get new information. Well, now I'm changing things up a little bit. And that's the thing with me is months ago at the start of the season, you came to me and you would say, Jay, the Phillies are going to be in contention. They're going to be playing meaningful baseball in September. What do you think of that? I would have said, yeah, sign me up for that. I think that would be a successful season for the Phillies. But just the way it transpired with the Phillies not being able to win series since the start of August, when the Phillies were in first place by like a game and a half, 2 games.
The only series they've won are against the Marlins and Mets.
Yeah, and just from the collapse that the Phillies had, they should have been much better than they are. New data came in, and I would have to categorize this as an unsuccessful season for the Phillies. But
and with that, we will take a break, and we will go to This Week in Sports History and see what's been trending this week. A lot of good stuff happened. Let's see what's happened this week in sports history. Welcome to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant on the Painted Circle. I am Jeff Sellner. Let's dive right into the history books. On September 23rd in 1983, one of baseball's great milestones was achieved. Phillies ace Steve Carlton joined the 300-win club, becoming just the 16th member of the prestigious club. Carlton, having spent much of the 83 season with a record right around 500, as the second week of September ended, he was 3 wins shy of 300 with 4 starts left. Steve would win his September 14th and 18th outings, setting up a magical day in St. Louis, the team he came up with, and then traded him to Philadelphia. With 27,266 fans on hand at Busch Stadium, Carlton would pitch 8 innings, giving up 2 runs, 1 walk, and 12 strikeouts as the Phillies coasted to a 6-2 victory and win number 300 for the future Hall of Famer. On September 24th in 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers played their final game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, New York. The Dodgers defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-0. Within weeks of that victory, the Dodgers had moved to LA and the New York Giants to San Francisco. Ebbets Field was demolished in 1960 and replaced by apartment buildings. While in Brooklyn, the Dodgers would win only 1 World Series in 1955. On September 25th in 1911, ground was broken for Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, the future home of Major League Baseball's Red Sox. Also on September 25th in 1965, at the age of 34, Willie Mays, a center fielder for the San Francisco Giants, became the oldest player to hit 50 home runs in a season. Mays was also the youngest player to hit 50 home runs in a season at the age of 24 in 1955. On September 26th in 1981, Nolan Ryan, a pitcher for the Houston Astros, set a major league record by throwing his 5th no-hitter, breaking a tie with Sandy Koufax. A crowd of 32,115 witnessed the feat as he defeated the LA Dodgers 5-0. In the final inning, he struck out Reggie Smith on 3 pitches, got Ken Landrio to ground out, then got Dusty Baker to ground out to Art Howe at third base to end the game. Ryan would go on to throw 2 more no-hitters in his career for a total of 7. Nolan Ryan was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1999 with a career record of 324 wins and 292 losses, a lifetime ERA of 3.19, and 5,714 strikeouts to go with 2,795 walks in his career. On September 27th in 1942, the New York Giants defeated the Washington Redskins 14-7 without making a first down. The Giants scored their points on a 50-yard pass and a 66-yard interception return. The game ended with Washington having 15 first downs and the Giants with 0. Also on September 27th in 1930, Bobby Jones won his 4th major golf tournament of the year, making him the first person ever to win the Grand Slam of golf with victories at the U.S. Open, British Open, U.S. Amateur, and British Amateur all in the same calendar year. Jones would retire at the age of 29 shortly after winning the Grand Slam. On September 28th in 1920, 8 Chicago White Sox players are indicted on a charge that they threw the 1919 World Series, a scandal known as the Black Sox scandal. Also on September 28th in 1941, Ted Williams, a left fielder for the Boston Red Sox, hits for a season average of .406. Williams is the last player to hit 400 or better for an entire season. Williams had a career average of .344 and was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1966. On September 29th in 1915, the Philadelphia Phillies clinched their first pennant. The Phillies finished with a record of 90 wins and 62 losses. The Phillies would go on to lose to Boston 4-1 in the World Series. Also on September 29th in 1954, Willie Mays made his famous over-the-shoulder catch of Vic Wertz's 460-foot drive during Game 1 of the '54 World Series at the Polo Grounds in Manhattan, New York. The score was tied 2-2 in the top of the 8th inning with runners on first and second at the time of
the catch. In most stadiums at the time, the drive would have been a home run, but the Polo Grounds was larger than average. The Giants would go on to win the game in the bottom of the 10th inning and would sweep the series from the Cleveland Indians. On September 30th in 1927, Babe Ruth of the New York Yankees hit a then record-setting 60th home run in a season off Tom Zachary of the Washington Senators in the final game of the season in the 8th inning. The crowd celebrated by tearing paper into confetti and throwing their hats in the air. Thank you for listening to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant. I am Jeff Selner.
And we are back here on the Sports Skillet Radio Show. We want to thank you for joining us. Again, phone number is 609-919-9200. If you want to jump aboard, phone lines are open. Or you can join us on social media, our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram account. We want to hear from you. Predictions, Sixers, Phillies, Major League Baseball playoffs, whatever's on your mind, we want to hear from you. But now we are going to do our Heels and Heroes segment where we rip a team or praise a person or a team. If you have a heel and hero, chime in as well. Here are our Heels and Heroes of the week.
I am Jeff Selner, and my hero of the week is the Cleveland Browns and their fans. The Cleveland Browns won a game for the first time since defeating the Chargers 20-17 on Christmas Eve 2016, a span of 635 days and 19 games without a win. Only the Tampa Bay Bucks, Detroit Lions, and Houston Oilers had longer losing streaks. The Browns defeated the New York Jets 21-17 behind rookie Baker Mayfield, the number one pick and Heisman Trophy winner, who took over in the second quarter when starter Tyrod Taylor was injured with a possible concussion. "We won," the Cleveland Police Department tweeted, before adding, "Wait, oh God, the free beer thing. Okay, Cleveland, stay calm. Go Browns." The free beer came in the form of Bud Light. Anheuser-Busch had promised to give Browns fans a cold beer if their team could win a game, installing orange victory fridges in bars in Cleveland and surrounding areas that were synced to unlock in the event of a Browns victory. Quarterback Baker Mayfield finished the evening leading the Browns to 4 scoring drives, connecting on 17 of 23 passes for 201 yards, even converting a 2-point conversion, a Philly special, with Jarvis Landry throwing a perfect pass to Mayfield to tie the game 14-14. Mayfield then orchestrated a 15-play, 75-yard drive, setting up Carlos Hyde to score his second touchdown of the game on a 1-yard run. Congratulations, Cleveland Browns. You are my heroes of the week. Yes! Yes!
My heel of the week is Lynn Redden. Now, you may have heard the story during the course of the week, but if not, Lynn Redden was the Onalaska Independent School District superintendent who made racial remarks about Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson on a social media page. Now, the Onalaska Independent School District is about 75 miles north of Houston, and making disparaging remarks about Deshaun Watson, especially racist remarks as they were, is absolutely unforgivable in this day and age. You should have known better than to post it on social media when you're in charge of young minds, school kids. It's absolutely inexcusable for a person in that position to do that and to post it on social media. Well, he came out, he apologized for it. He then said his comments were wrong, inappropriate, and have been an embarrassment to the district, his family, friends, and for this, he is deeply sorry. He then offered up his resignation, rightfully so he is no longer employed by the Onalaska Independent School District. So for making racial remarks about Texans quarterback Deshaun Jackson and igniting that media fire, Lynn Redden, you are my heel of the week.
Hi, I'm Mike Alessandro, and here is my heel of the week. And this comes out of college football. We're going to take a trip down to college football land and go to Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Yes, you heard it. Wake Forest Demon Deacons kicker Matt Sheba was on the sideline as his team was preparing to set up a field goal try against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish yesterday. And one person was missing, and that was Sheba himself. The whole rest of the team was on the field waiting for their kicker to come up and kick the field goal, but he was nowhere to be found. He was still on the sideline practicing field goals when all of a sudden he turns his head and he sees the rest of his team on the field and realizes that, oh, I should go join them. So he goes out onto the field, and what does he do? He completely misses the field goal, hits the left upright. The field goal's no good, and so Matt Sheba of Wake Forest Demon Deacons, you are my heel of the week.
Some good heels and heroes for this week, I think.
Absolutely.
And we will now go quickly as we wrap up the show to our NFL picks. See what Jay has in store this week.
Mike too.
In terms of surprise, and Mike too. So we'll see where we stand on these games. First, we have New Orleans, Jay, traveling to Atlanta.
I am going to go with the New Orleans Saints on this one. I think New Orleans is going to pull it out.
New Orleans Saints outright. Drew Brees and that offense just, I think, too high-powered for a Falcons injury-ridden defense.
I'm going with New Orleans as well, even if it is on the road, both dome teams. So I think that can obviously work for them. So I'm going with New Orleans. Denver putting their 2-0 record on the line in Baltimore, Jay.
I am going to go with Baltimore in this one. Baltimore is going to come out hungry. I like some of the things that Baltimore has been doing this year, so I think Baltimore takes it.
I got Denver in this one. I don't think the Ravens just they don't have their offense figured out.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the Ravens as well. I think the Ravens Denver's on the road here. I'm going with the Ravens. Cincinnati putting their 2-0 record on the line on the road in Carolina, Jay.
I am going to go with Carolina in this one. Cam Newton pulls it out.
I'm going with Carolina too. Carolina is actually my team. I've been following them ever since, so I always go with my Panthers.
Gotcha.
And we seem to be in a lot of agreement here. I'm going with Carolina as well. I think Carolina does put another victory on the board. Local team here, Jay. 2 0-2 teams. We mentioned this earlier in the show. The New York Giants at 0-2, traveling to Houston 0-2. Who do you got?
This is the game where one team is going to be done for the year. Yeah. I am going to go with the New York Giants. I think they're going to pull it out. But if they don't, Giants are going to be done, and who knows when they're going to get their first win.
I'm going with Houston on this one. I just think Houston finally gets it together. That defensive line, J.J. Watt gets into the backfield easily.
Yeah, I don't like that matchup with J.J. Watt against the offensive line of the Giants. I'm taking Houston. Okay, let's go to Tennessee, 1-1, heading to Jacksonville, 2-0. Who do you got, Jay?
I'm going to go with Jacksonville in this one.
Saxonville all the way.
Saxonville all the way, 3-0. It's a matchup with two good young quarterbacks, Jay. San Francisco, 1-1, is at Kansas City, 2-0.
Kansas City, go Andy Reid.
I believe in Pat Mahomes. I believe he continues to do what he's doing.
I would love to see my 49ers come out with a win here. I think this would be a huge win for Garoppolo if he could go into Kansas City. Tough place to win. I'm picking Kansas City, though, to win and go to 3-0. We have those Oakland Raiders, Jay, and John Gruden 0-2 going to Miami, who is 2-0.
John Gruden drops to 0-3.
Yep, John Gruden drops 0-3. Miami's showing that they can play this year.
I'm going with Miami as well. I think Miami goes to 3-0. Jay, those Buffalo Bills are headed to Minnesota.
Minnesota by 100.
Blowout for the Vikings. I think Kirk Cousins puts up at least 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, they go with their weird. Minnesota's going to go to 2-0-1 as they stand. Jay, Indianapolis 1-1 is at those Philadelphia Eagles 1-1. Who do you got? Not that I have to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Philadelphia Eagles. Mike, who you got?
I'm going to take an upset. This is one of my upset picks of the week.
Really?
I'm going to go with Indy.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Philadelphia. They're home. Jay's poured out this. They play so well at home. I'm going to say Philly goes to 2-1. Jay, Green Bay is at Washington.
I'm going to go with Green Bay in this one, although I think Washington's going to make it close.
I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. I don't. Washington, Alex Smith, basically check down machine, always throwing to the running back. I just don't think they have the firepower to match up with Green Bay's.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers to win and go to 2-0-1. Jay, those LA Chargers are at, the LA Rams.
Rams in this one.
Yeah, this was one of my tougher picks, but I'm going with the Rams.
And I'll quickly go here to Dallas and Seattle. Jay, who do you got there?
Again, big must-win game. I am going to go with the Seattle Seahawks in this one.
And
Seahawks at home.
Yeah, and I'm going with I'm going to go with the Seahawks as well at home. And then on Monday Night Football, Jay, we have Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay in this one.
Fitzmagic all the way.
Yep.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's having a whole lot of trouble. I'm going with Tampa Bay. And we'd like to thank everybody for joining us, Jay, on the Sports Skillet Radio Show this Sunday.
Absolutely. Mike, you did a great job.
Thank you guys for having me. It's good to be a part of this team, and I can't wait for weeks going forward.
Absolutely. Loved having you aboard and loved having everybody listen to us here on the Sports Skillet Radio Show. Tune in next week at 11. Join us on our social media accounts during the week. We want to hear from you, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks to Rob Maaddi and the coach, Shayne McGowan. And again, tune in right here at sportsskilletradio.com and Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey next Sunday at 11. Have a great week, everybody.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.